Hey everybody, welcome to Integration Week that you've made it. You're in the Advanced Permaculture Student Online Live Q&A. And it is a beautiful day. The snows are melting. We're able to get out of, off the mountain that we're on and be able to go out and see other people and do other things. We're not snowed in any longer. The power is back as well. We have running water again. It's pretty amazing how the permaculture skills that we talk about really come into play when the grid fails, and the grid's going to increasingly fail as we go further into the future on this current path that we're on. So I'm going to grab our YouTube page and I'm going to pop over as usual to our Facebook group and just notify everyone. All right. And we are live. All right, there we go. All right, so they know there as well. Everyone's been emailed. And yep, it's 2 o'clock Integration Week. We're talking about catch-up questions, things that we need to go over in more detail, concerns that we have, questions that have just come up. It doesn't matter really where you are in this course. This course is shifting to a more open, less pressured model. So, because a lot of people, they want to take longer than the 6 months that the course is really plotted for. And then there's a lot of programs out there that it's like 1 year and then I kick you out. And it's like, it just doesn't work for people, especially when you need to go back and review and touch base with what you knew to be true, you know what I mean? But you can't quite remember the name or the facts or the, you know what I mean? You're searching and you want to go back and review it because you're right, but you want to know how you're right or why you're right. And it's really critical that we give we keep these resources open to everyone, just because if we want high quality designers, we want high quality practitioners, then they need access to the references, right? You know what I mean? I mean, every business is going to have, their database, their touchstone, and they're going to want all the people in their industry to have access to it and to really be good, being able to reference things that they don't understand. I mean, it's the hallmark of, I think, of being a consummate professional, you know what I mean? When we can completely get to that point where no matter what happens, we can figure it out. So that's the idea. That's the idea. All right. Hey Fred. Hey Allison. Hey Gavin. Hey Katie. Hey everybody. Thank you all for coming. Yeah, and I really appreciate that that everyone really dives in. We're all part of the community, and that's we all should feel like we're all part of a community of learners and practitioners too. Where you might be the mushroom person and this and that, but you're like, well, I'm not really doing the garden, but I love that, and but it's that exchange of ideas and sharing of skills that really allows us as a community to have that resilience that we all really need. And I think that realization is really happening all over the world right now, that community is the future, that building each other up and giving each other the tools for success is the way forward. Makes me think of Jeanette, better yet, said on the post about emergency preparedness. She was talking about offering solution-based and regenerative permaculture model after disaster strikes. Actually, that's what a bunch of people already do, and a lot of people dream of doing on an even greater scale. I mean, the need is just so massive that we all could get involved with that. But it's absolutely true that there are people really working actively on this. So there's Jeff Lund's worked with refugee camps. I've talked to people working with refugee camps. They've talked about having the wallpaper or the actual walls be the instructions for things. So that like there's all these ideas and plans on ways that we can embed regenerative thinking and systems within the disaster relief. So the climate shocks become educational. So we transform them into benefit rather than just reeling and suffering and having it be this negative thing. We have it become the way that we adapt. So I think that there's tons of, I mean, I know someone in the permaculture world whose dream, and I don't want to give away their dream because I don't know if he just told me it personally or not, but it's someone we all know and we all love, and he has this desire to just go and serve. I don't want to give it away. I don't want to talk about it. He really wants. He's got like a mobile way of serving coastal communities. Guess what it is, I bet. And so he really just wants to go to these communities that are faced by tsunami and the most vulnerable areas that are facing flooding, and serving in those communities and responding quickly, because it's really hard to get things to these locations quickly, and to get relief, the right kind of relief quickly. So that there's so many people working on that, but there's only a few working models that are actually in effect. So lots of dreams, lots of hopes, lots of demand, really. Lots of people wanting it. So Jeanette she's perfectly aligned to, you know, arrive at a cusp moment in time, and really change things. Yeah. You know, Stan just got home in a snowstorm. The snowstorm really nailed us. I mean, we got over a foot of snow, such that after it had been in the like mid-30s and it's rained on it off and on for an entire day, when I went out to shovel, it was still like a foot deep. And I was like, okay, a lot. You know, it really came down. And I know it was not cold here like it was elsewhere. We got down to 12 degrees. What was really crazy was we got down to 12 degrees and my ducks refused to go to the heat lamp. My chickens too. Sometimes it's so weird. All right. So some nights I'd go out there and the chickens would be down at the heat lamp, like crowded up, like, oh. And then some nights they'd be up in the trees. And so I don't know what's going on, but I've really tried to provide habitat. But they're so instinctual, these birds, that it's like they really know their limits. The chickens will go inside to the heat lamp, or they'll go inside the teepee, which is really, really covered in snow. So it's really insulated. So yeah, it's just really interesting. I mean, it's like at times like the dogs and the dog and the cat and like the two chickens are like all sleeping together, and it's like, whoa. You know, it's just like really interesting, the communication that happens when you give animals their ability to forage and have independence. You know what I mean? And yes, the rooster has attacked me a few different times, but we're like on totally different terms now. Our relationship has matured over the course of the past year. And yeah, he was a young rooster. Yeah, he had to go through that probably. But literally it got down to 12 degrees at night and it was really cold. And the ducks and the chickens are okay. I did things right. I provided habitat, and then I made sure right before it was like really dark and really cold, they got a ton of food. So their digestion will be working and creating heat. But you know, they didn't have shelter. I mean, like the ducks literally will not go in their shelter. They stayed out in the middle of the pond. So one of the requests was I talk about ducks, you know. So I wanted to just bring up how amazing ducks are. And then my chickens, my jungle birds, they're 20, 30 feet up in the air in these trees. It's to get away from the bears and the bobcat that kept coming and eating the others. But it's really sensational when you have this kind of thing where you have a chicken that goes 20, 30 feet up in the trees every night, because they're just like on a totally different level. So literally. So I really believe in giving these animals something like Sepp Holzer would do, where you really give them free rein, you let them express themselves, and you learn from what they're doing. Um, so I've learned a lot about chickens and ducks in this colder climate. I know that there's a lot of people that do a lot of different things to keep their chickens and ducks warm and all this stuff. Um, I've offered those things, and my chickens and ducks, they're like reptiles. And like, you know, when the crocodile sticking its nose out in Atlanta or one of those other southern states, and it freezes over and their noses are sticking out and then they thaw out. It's crazy. So I think that's what's going on. Perhaps is that they're slowing their metabolism down and they just speed it back up. But it's fascinating. So I really, really like working with birds. My cat is also a great animal to have in the mix, because my cat eats a lot of the mice that would be coming in the house and causing problems health-wise. All right, well, it's 80 degrees there, Fred, man. Potting tomato plants. Oh man. I think everyone can kind of like, breathe that in. They feel that tomato, when you touch it. Oh, yeah, no, that's so cool. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. 80 degrees. Whew, it's a little hot. But wow, man, you're already just living it up. Yeah, so we're working on April moving into this new site, and this new site is 4 greenhouses. So we'll have amazing Check. So this is working. Okay. So let's see if you guys can see me now. It does this every once in a while. Have you guys noticed? Are we back? Sound two. Okay. Okay, Gavin's got it. So it probably takes a moment. Sound is good. Sweet. Okay. So we just averted disaster because this is what happens with these live feeds is it's like, and then like we lose everything, right? But okay, so I was talking, we lost it at greenhouses. So yeah, no, there are greenhouses, there's ponds, we're gonna be doing new videos. There's lots more to come. Yeah, so you're getting the tail end of the storm that just hit me. I'm just reading through all your different things. Yeah, it's been hot, right? In some areas, it's wild. All right, awesome to see that everything is back. Everything's good. Feel free to ask questions. Oh, Courtney very helpfully texted me. Very, very good. Teamwork. Awesome. I'm still there, right? Okay, good. I'm still there. I'm going to actually, you know what? I'm going to stay on this just so that there's no error, but I'm going to leave this chat over here. It's just amazing technology. Here we go. Boom. All right. Whew. So now we need to go to questions. All right. Where is that? That's over here. All right. Well, I hope that you all are having a good winter or summer wherever you all are at, especially because so many people have been, you know, affected by the flu this year. The sicknesses have been pretty gnarly. So for us too, for sure. All right. So very, very good. All right. I've got everything up. Is anyone growing mushrooms indoors? Well, I guess I am. I have those jars and they're just filling up with mycelium. I could pop the tops off and let them grow out, but I don't want to really do that right now. I want that liquid in there to stay sterile. So when we do our move, I can restart from that stuff. So I want to do that too. There's no cons to introducing fungi properly into a house. It's not like black mold or yeast or something like that is going to like spread and hurt you. Like this is shiitake mushrooms, reishi. These are mushrooms we know and understand, and we have protocols for growing them. So it's super easy for you to do it, and the danger is not for you. The danger is for the actual fungi you're growing. It just won't turn out well, and it'll have an issue, and you'll see it or smell it, and you won't be able to get the return on that investment. So I don't think there's any cons to introducing fungi into a household if you were talking about cultivating medicinal and edible fungi. All right, cool. I am going to now hop over here to the questions. I have a new baby on the way. I'm taking a little okay, so they're talking about just how they're going through a little bit of a squeeze and a big transition is taking place in their lives, but they have their sights and on a realistic shift to pursuing passion more full time. Awesome. So a lot of people talk about their challenges, and so I think I'll speak to a few of these because not everyone has questions, and we're all here, and this is what we're really dealing with. And even if we aren't asking a particular question, when we share a challenge, there is an implicit question. I'm studying, pondering, and planning. When I talk to my friends and family about my ideas, everyone asks the same thing. Isn't this going to be hard for you? It's hard not to be defensive or offended. Yes, it's hard, but I can't go back now.
That's why I'm trying to talk it out and get y'all involved. I'm trying hard to stay positive and enthusiastic. And then winter hasn't been good. And then he's had a back injury. I can relate. Back injuries can hold you back so profoundly. So Sheldon, man, that is hard stuff. What I would say is that, I would focus on creating plans that are actionable, and then really try to dive into the stuff that we've learned that can help. So the meditation, I mean, Joe Dispenza's his whole meditation thing is what healed his back. And his spinal injury was like vertebrae that were crushed and broken, and there was bone fragments in the spinal cord, and very serious. So there's value there. I'm not prescribing anything because I'm not a doctor, but I know that there's value in there, and I know that other people with back injuries have found relief in there. And like I said, it's Joe Dispenza's meditation. I think there's a lot of meditations. There's a lot of release and relaxation that can happen, but those are the ones that are medically proven through his research and testing to actually have effect. I'm talking about them in my new book. Yeah, I would focus on that, especially if we're ramping up enthusiasm and positivity. All right. And then John Britton is saying he's having a tough time with rocks and trees. And the thing with rocks is they create thermal mass, and so they can heat up the ground really fast, and that can be really good. So I don't really mind the rocks unless I'm digging. So if it's really rocky, I tend to go up and build soils up, and so doing mulch and whatnot, compost. But then the trees are such a limiting factor. If you've got too much tree shade, if your roots are, putting out, tannins, and it's acidic and all this stuff, it's going to have a real tough time. So you're going to want to make sure that you pick a place where the soils are unimpeded, pick a place that has sun access or create sun access, and make sure you get enough sun. Make sure that you start building soil so that those rocks can hold the temperature for you, and provide a lot of minerals, which are awesome. But yeah, I would. And you say raised beds, that's great. That's awesome. You can do raised beds in the ground too. And then the seeds from last year, as I said, old seeds from last year that you bought last year will be fine to use this year. They're old seeds only in the sense that they were packed that last year, because a lot of the seeds they sell are not from that previous season because they were just packed that season. There's a bin and a barrel, with all the other seeds that they can pack more from and date it right then. So it's not quite the same that people think. So seed lasts a really long time. I mean, we got seed from Egypt, like 3,000 years old, that grew. So, or no, I think it's 30,000 years old, actually. I don't know. I recently shared it on our website, the permaculture student on Facebook, and I want to say it's 30,000. I see the 3, but 3,000 is like way too early. Like that's nothing. So anyway, numbers, right? But the seed's capacity to be preserved and then grow goes so much further than those seed packs, is my point. Okay, and then Florida homesteader worried about poisonous snakes. So it's a city lot. Snakes are few and far between, but with a lot of acre, with lots of food, I have some worries. So there are so many students in this course and in all my previous courses who are part of our community who are in Florida. My dog is breathing hard. He's asleep. Are you running somewhere? Yeah, he's imagining he's running. Dreaming dog. But yeah, no, the thing is, we want to think like a snake when we're dealing with wildlife, right? We want to go back and review that section perhaps with Brock Dolman, and look at what he talks about. Because the thing is, it's like if we start thinking like a snake, it's like, all right, well, we're afraid of birds, right? We're gonna go where it's shady. We're gonna go, you know, where the grass is tall. So you're gonna want to keep your paths wider, clearer, the undergrowth more clear and open, allowing more aeration and more movement. And that way you'll be able to see the snakes more easily, and the snakes will feel more exposed. You also could create snake habitat and then invite or get snakes that eat the bad snakes. And I know that seems crazy. You're like, but wait, what? You want me to get snakes? Well, the thing is, the king snake in our part of California actually, yeah, it's the gopher snake you wanted and the king snake you wanted, because those two were the good snakes, non-poisonous, though the gopher snake looks like the eastern, eastern rattlesnake, or eastern diamondback snake. But those two protect your garden. You know, one eats the gophers and one eats the rattlesnakes. The king snake would eat the rattlesnake. It was a black and white striped snake. Very easy to see and notice. And so you would want those snakes. And once they got established, you like left them alone and gave them space and everything. And so I think, and then also creating like clearing things in a way that allows birds to come in. So you have their sun tanning habitat, if it's for the poisonous snakes, in an area where the birds can pick them off. So they go sun tan and then get nailed. But if it's desirable snakes you want, you might actually blunt that and protect them so that they can be tanning in the sun without feeling like they're going to be eaten. So, great question. I've not gotten that question before. And then there was a comment about, you know, eating animals was hard for them. Because some sections of the course talk about, you know, people raising animals for food, but they're very glad that they're there. They're not at all offended, and they're glad they're included in the program, and because they're necessary and useful to so many people. Yeah, my son Oliver, you know, often gets sad, you know, about the way animals are treated, and I think that the best way, and the way that I ended up thinking about it as I've come to love animals that I've raised to eat them, like I've raised a pig and we've eaten that as a family. In the best of worlds, wouldn't all the meat we ate be given, like, as while it was alive, be given the most love, the most care, and allowed to express itself to its complete instincts and have the fullest life? You know, those kinds of things would be the ideal. And I think we only can do that when we're really, you know, making it small or making it really wild or doing it like small and boutique, like or on our own. And I think that otherwise it is sad. You know what I mean? And even when when we do it and when we harvest the animal, it is sad. And hard on some level, but there's also that understanding and that honor and that gratitude for that animal in the system of life. And it's like the same thing where I'm grateful for the deer that feed, you know, the mountain lions, the beautiful mountain lions, and I'm grateful. You know what I mean? It's like all these things are necessary in this, and when they're properly honored and they're properly naturally interacting. And I think that what we're going to see more and more when it comes to, and I'll talk about this more as you dive deeper into the course, is that the most ethical meat is meat that we hunt. And almost all the hunting situations we have are rewilded. So they're essentially man-made. So, especially in the duck world, right? Like 140 million acres rewilded. So the most ethical meat deer and duck hunted, really actually is their health. So what happens when we let the deer go wild, breed, and just no one hunts them? We get Lyme disease. And in Connecticut, it's like they didn't even let them use bow and arrows because it's a silent weapon. And they didn't let them shoot because it goes through houses, and every house is like so close to each other, especially, closer you get to the tri-state area. And so the deer were everywhere. And when you don't have, those visible big predators like the wolves or, the hunters, you get the little invisible ones like Lyme disease and diseases of all sorts. The wasting disease, which is similar to the prion problems, the prion disease, mad cow, scabies, and kura kura. So, what was I talking about? I'm like, reach really deep to get kuru kuru there, and then I'm like, wait. All right, no, what it is this. And so we really need to understand like what is natural for animals, what is honorable for animals. And that's why it's so critical that we talk about these things, especially those of us who are sensitive, because we feel the reasoning behind these new methodologies, these more boutique, these more love-based, care-based models of working with animals. And the reality is, that's what the reality was, is that the deer, they are going to have issues unless they're kept within a certain range. They're going to destroy the landscape. And they did. And like, if you read the Sand County Almanac, it talks about this very thing. The overpopulation of deer literally like denuded mountains of underbrush, and then all the saplings and all the baby trees. And so it's really crazy when we don't actually manage wild populations with predation, hunting from a human perspective. And so I really believe that the eating of animals is going to shift into a more ethically aligned, rewilding, balancing for the health of them. And then we get the nutrition that we need, because many of us need, because we can't actually change the plant fatty chains into animal fatty acid chains. And so we can't transfer them, some of us. And, it's that whole thing where you have the Eskimos eating blubber. That's their culture. They're eating the whale blubber, and you look at their blood and it's this way. And then you go down and you go to the vegan islanders, and they're eating, some fish, but hardly, mostly, like vegetables, and you compare them, and their blood is going to looks the same because they're adapted to that. The microbiome and their genetic history are adapted to that. So it's really important to try to get back to the natural, I feel like, and honor each of us, our cultures, our diets, our individual needs, and individual roles that we play. I mean, the facts, are out there. People need to stop eating so much meat. People need to never, ever, ever eat anything from a factory, farm ever again. But it is also true that for many people, it is a crucial modality for their health, or a modality that really supports their health easier and more easily for their bodies. And then on top of it, it's like managing the ducks, managing the deer. The ducks, they're hunted to exactly the right amounts, because they work with the Autobahn, and I'll talk about this later. But they're counting exactly so that they don't take too much. They take just enough so that it actually makes everything healthier. It's really incredible. Yeah, I really do believe that the future is ethically hunted animals that are hunted in such a way that enhances them. And we've seen this in the accounts of Aborigines in Australia hunting. Well, they don't really hunt. It's very interesting. But the way they managed the kangaroos. They made the animals healthier and more plentiful. All right. Absorbing the knowledge without being able to put it all into practice has been hard, but spring is coming. And first pepper seeds were sown indoors. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Most challenging for me is my 85-year-old mother fell and broke her right hip, and I'm trying to take care of her and help my brother feed 60 head of cattle every morning and keep up with this class and the regenerative entrepreneur class. That is hard. That is really hard. Well, bless you and your mother and your brother for doing that work. That is definitely hard. But that's why I kind of want to shift towards a less pressured approach so that people feel like they can take breaks, they can take time off. And that's why, after this run of weeklies, I'm going to be doing monthly lives for the entire community, just from now on, and it's going to be part of the sign up. So for like 6 months, when you sign up, you get access to the live, like through the whole course. So yeah, that's the whole plan. The most challenging thing for me right now is sitting at work and not being able to go to work on our property every day. The last couple of weeks, I have had several that's what I can do moments, along with reassurances that ideas that I had should work. Awesome. Yeah. Well, it's 80 degrees now where you're at, so you'll be able to do stuff. Yeah. My mom was telling me, it's 70 degrees here in Connecticut now. This is weird. And it's like, wow. It just was like super cold. You know what I mean? Just a little while ago. Oh yeah, and then Erin is in Alaska, and she doesn't know whether to start there or hold off and go somewhere else and then really start her food for us. She's got big dreams. She doesn't know if this summer is the one to start or plan to do something else in another location. She just, is feeling all these different ways. And so for me, I've got my answer I put there, but I set up a garden wherever I go, and I often leave them, but that's okay. I really feel like doing anything is something. Building up the soil is something. So I really encourage that. And then this next one's about mapping and about how the mapping has been the hardest aspect, but they've tried Dusty Eddie's manual and that worked. There's another computer program that other people used that was automated. So yeah, now this is one of the greatest failure points in all permaculture design courses is the map making, especially the topographic component. So yeah, I would say stick with it and try to figure out exactly where your failure point is, because if you can ask a precise question, you can get exactly the answer you need. Oh, deer do not have their own predators in America. We removed them all. And so, yeah, we don't allow people to hunt. And so they'll go into suburban areas, and then, people get Lyme disease and lose their children and their spouses. It's awful. And it's because they're just allowed to breed too much, and disease comes in to cull them, just like the wolves would. All right. Okay, yeah, so that closet garden. So we're taking everything down, we're breaking everything down and getting everything ready to leave. But that closet garden, I had that set in the 70s. so that I had a heater in there. It would click off when it was in the 70s. The lights kept it pretty warm, so I didn't really need the heater that often. But I really needed the heater more for the fungi than for the plants. The fungi really need that correct temperature. And so I actually still have some plants. Well, I shifted them to the garden. All right, anyway. But the point is, though, is that so there weren't any issues. Like the only issue was that the pepper plant didn't produce as much as I wanted it to. The pepper plants produce way more when they're outside or in the greenhouse. But my temperature was in the 70s. What I realized is I could do the same thing outside in the greenhouse. And I realized I should use the same real estate for stuff that's more expensive. So spirulina and the mushrooms. And so that's why I shifted the urban permaculture experiment to those things, because those things will be more urban and more valuable as well. So more people will be doing them. I'm going to be doing it all at the new place. So get ready for all of that. So someone's seen a king snake eating a copperhead. Awesome. But yeah. So like I said, how can a hunter evaluate if the deer he is hunting is a weak specimen like a wolf knows to do? So there's a bunch of different things. You can really tell by looking at these animals which ones are healthier. And then they follow the families. All right, so maybe you guys don't know very many hunters, but I do, and they track all the families. They spend more time tracking as hunters than they do actually shooting and harvesting meat, because they mostly only get 1 or 2 opportunities, because that's what the tags are. So they can only get a certain amount of deer out of that season. So they have to be careful. And so they spend a lot of their time going out there and just observing the animals. And it's like the Nature Channel, you know what I mean? / camping. And so they know the families. They know how many females there are. They know how many males there are. They know how many young there are in the area. They even name some of them because they know how many points they have antler-wise. So I really do believe completely that hunters do know and can evaluate deer populations. The duck hunting hunters are working in conjunction with the Audubon Society. All these situations are getting easier to manage with drones, because drones can count things really fast with AI technology now. So it would be great to have the wolves back and to learn from the wolves, just like it'd be great to start bringing back, as I talk later in the course, about bringing back the ocean and then working with the sharks and the other predators and observing with them. And we could maybe start hunting with them again, as the Aboriginals did in Australia when they hunted together with killer whales, with orcas. So this idea that, you know what I mean, like we all can find a path, and we all can find a way to participate in our system in a way that makes the life ramp up. Whether it's chop and drop, whether it's managing the population of something by bringing in a predator or being the predator. Many times we have extinctions, and we're going to have to get real clever about what we're going to have to do to fill in those gaps. It won't do necessarily to just bring in animals and sometimes plants from other areas because of the invasive factors, because of the And I think a lot of like these things that we're seeing where they're like, oh man, where did this fungi come from? It's like you brought that foreign plant and it had the fungi inside of it. And it just was part of the endophytic fungi. In ancient times, hunting for either nutrition or furs for warmth may have been a matter of survival, but I find that in modern times, with our knowledge of crop cultivation, this is not so. Yeah, there are a lot of different opinions about that. Because if you look at the amount of acreage and the amount of oil that goes into our clothing, a lot of people will be like, well, the leather's going to last forever, and I raise the animals on my land. You know what I mean? So there's a lot of, when you go to the utilitarian thing, there's going to be a whole different thing. The blurring of hunting practice in ancient times. Well, but that's the other thing, is what about the indigenous people that are hunting to live today in the wild spaces? They're not ancient and they're as relevant as we are. I mean, an indigenous person is not worth less than me. You know what I mean? So their hunting practice is as valid as, you know, us farming. So I always want to just be able to honor all the different people that are involved, and honor the different cultures that are involved. I think I shared my challenge question a little too late to be included, but it was this. It has been challenging to accept the extension of the US-Mexico border wall, which runs right through our South Texas bioregion and will undoubtedly affect our wildlife and natural ecology. I would love to know if anyone has positive encouragement or ideas how to address the US-Mexico border wall issue from a permaculture standpoint. Well, it's political. And so I actually posted about this a while ago. It's funny, no one responded or said anything about it, but I actually screenshotted the actual section in Bill Mollison's book on political affiliation. So yeah, no, we really need, I mean, it talks about two different routes. You bioregionally organize, you form grassroots movements, or you try, you influence the political arena. So yeah, we really need to get more involved in the political arena in a way that people can get behind. Biggest bucks have reproduced, and hunting them allows for the smaller ones to introduce their genetics. Oliver, but are the genetics of the biggest ones the fittest? Diversity is best. But is it putting human rationale onto deer genetics? But the same thing is, it's about wolf. But if we eat deer and those genetics of the deer are in our bodies, and our biome has translated them and understood them, and now we are deer, then how would we not know as much as a wolf does over genetically eating those deer over generations and hunting them? But why then does not nature allow the smaller bucks to introduce their genetics? The female will naturally choose the stronger specimen. I don't know if that's always true. There's a lot more chaos when it comes to mating than people assume. It's not like the cartoons where it's just always the big one that gets everything. A lot of times it's a lot more chaotic, where, you know, you have like one or two of the smaller males, you know, fighting the bigger male, and then they're going around and mating with the other females. So it's not clean cut like a cartoon. Yeah. I didn't share specifically the wall issue. I shared the political issue. But yeah, it's interesting in permaculture. A lot of people just want, you know, I mean, it comes from a lot of people have been homesteaders, and a lot of people have wanted to pull back from what they see as a hot mess, which it is, in our world. But now permaculture really, as a community, is turning around and wanting to inoculate and change the world that it sees, which is a logical step. Yeah, no, Gavin, there's no justification for killing things for fun or showing off. I mean, that doesn't go with the ethics. And so that doesn't fit in any conversation. And I don't think anything that I showed would fit in with that as well, saying, you know, killing for fun or killing to show off or anything like that. What I'm talking about is indigenous people. What I'm talking about is hunters. And I have known dozens and dozens and dozens of hunters for many years. Yeah, there's a lot more respect out there. And if you want to get down to it, hunters are the ones who have rewilded and restored more land than any other group in North America. Permaculture, not even close. Not even close. Not even a dent compared to hunters. So, and it was humbling when I learned that. I was like, wait, hunters, aren't they the one, wait. But they're the only ones that are really investing in the wild and supporting the wilderness. Other people are giving money to like nonprofit organizations that spend all their money trying to stay alive. So yeah, we really need to find a system that honors all life and all the systems of life so that nature can function properly. Pamela, when you post, the system is not letting me post. We can see that. So it's letting you post. Okay. Yeah, so there's a lot out there about ethical hunting, and a lot out there about the way, you know, everything from micro to macro is consuming life, and about how plants are more sentient and feel pain and can see us and all that kind of stuff than animals actually. Animals are brand new. I mean, if you look at it, it's animals, and then you have plants, and then you have fungi. And fungi already exhibits intelligence. You know what I mean? It's already problem solving at a super high level and communicating and facilitating and doing things altruistically. So we have altruism here in development of life. And then we have plants that are sharing with their children. And then we have animals. So it becomes really hard when we like dig into all this stuff to try to apply morality selectively on a system that in and of itself is a lot more complicated. Awesome. I'm tempted to give it special treatment, extra mulch, compost to produce lots of strong seed. It is hard to hold back. What do you advise? A Malva crispa plant, a great warm season annual green known to be somewhat hard to survive that bitter cold winter. And now I want to save those seeds. Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, I would just I would just make sure that it's mulched, but if it's already survived, it's already survived. And so you're gonna get those seeds. Whoa, a mindful carnivore. Yeah, so it's funny. I was in the vegan world. I'll share this with you guys. We have a little bit more time. But I was vegan. I was, you know, we did the Gerson therapy for my wife. We were juicing, we were doing all this stuff. And then the guy we were learning from said that he didn't feel ethically able to continue his company. And we were like, what? It was High Raw. It was Kevin Gianni. You may have known Kevin Gianni, High Raw, very, very popular brand. He actually passed the brand on, and they just continued on with the High Raw without him. But he started it, and he couldn't ethically go on because he started having animal protein. He started having fermented kefir, milk kefir, so that he could fix his teeth. And what was crazy was my teeth problems really started when we went vegan, and it just was really bad. I just started basically getting cavities just constantly, and so he started using kefir to bring back his teeth, raw milk kefir, and he started following this totally other path. And so I started following him. We all started following him, and before I knew it, I was eating that pork in Missouri that Kyler Rice gave me, and I gained 20 pounds after 10 years of trying to gain any weight. And it was like the moment that my Crohn's like subsided and allowed me to recover. It was absolutely incredible. So different strokes for different folks is what I would say. And it all is, your time and season. What works for you and what will heal you in different times in your period and in different time periods of your life. You're gonna know too. Your body's gonna tell you. You're gonna be led to that. So that's what happened with us. And I couldn't eat meat. Like I literally couldn't digest meat for years. I felt it go down. It was so painful. So I wasn't like a vegetarian and vegan by choice. I was literally, I had to, because I couldn't survive. I was in too much pain. It was blinding pain. And so no, I've been forced to be vegetarian and vegan. And then I've like built a path back, and it's been one of healing for my body. But yeah, I mean, the real key is to only have it as if it's medicine. So you eat it sparingly, you have only the best of the best of the best. It's usually expensive, you know what I mean? That sort of thing. So you end up honoring it, you end up treating it right, and you end up getting it only from people who treat it properly. Awesome. Yeah, and as Pamela points out, a lot of people have different body types. So when they start the vegan diet, it can be, very dangerous for them. They can get very sick. Some people can't translate. I mean, if you look into the Gerson therapy, people say it's vegan. It's actually not, because all the supplements that the vegans are taking are actually made from animals. So there was that whole thing as well. So I don't know if you can tweak it so that everyone's diet could be vegan. I don't know about, those indigenous people, the Eskimos and all those kinds of things. So yeah. Yeah, there's a ton of information there nutritionally out there. And a lot of it, I think, has to do with what we believe, because there's so much that I am allergic to, but I know that I want to eat it. Like, I'm allergic to all fruits and vegetables. Kind of crazy, right? Bet you didn't know that. Yeah, I'm allergic to all fruits and vegetables. The only thing my blood type actually comes up with that I'm not hysterically allergic to is fish and meat. And so I don't eat fish because of the condition of our oceans. And so the only thing I'm not like allergic to is like butter and grass-fed beef. So yeah, but I don't just eat beef or anything crazy like that. I eat a ton of different food. I eat a lot of raw food. I love raw food. But the idea though is that there's a lot more to it than what we get from our blood typing. There's a lot more to it than we get from the books that we read. So and so much of it is so personal that you need to be tracking your blood for sure, but also just really paying attention, food journals, those kinds of things. So, And then fermented food. Yeah, I have fermented food constantly. That was a huge step for me, health-wise. But again, as I always say, you know, I'm not a doctor. And what's worked for me, it's all anecdotal stuff. And when I mention stuff that, you know, is in studies, those are, you know, studies that are done by doctors and whatnot. But whoa. So Gerson used calf's liver. Yeah, there's so much like caveats and complexities and things that are going on. Right, omega-3s efficiently from fish or meat, from a plant source. Yeah, it's converting those fatty acid chains. Some people can't do it, but does that mean that they couldn't get that microbiome in their gut to be able to do it? We don't know. Or does that mean as they age, they might lose that? Or, you know, all these things are new. You know what I mean? All these things are really new. Have I ever taken allergy shots? This is getting awful personal. No. I hate shots. Like, I don't want any needles like in my body. Kind of like, you'll have to hold me down. You just try, kind of thing. Yeah, I've never liked needles. Yeah, so this is a conversation that we could have go on for weeks. Yeah, awesome stuff, guys. So there's so much information out there. And like I said, though, I think so much of it plays into the placebo effect. I mean, if we can do the breathing exercise from Wim Hof and in 20 minutes change our blood from acidic to alkaline, the variables are kind of crazy. So there's a lot more to the picture. And we are computers, like infinitely programmable. We're not machines, we're biological, like programmable computers. And so just like that person who's very sick, they can, you know, give them a transplant of microbiology from a healthy person and they can come back. I believe that there's so much more to health and eating and all this stuff. Yeah, I think most of our human systems, most of our understanding, philosophies, all these things are approximations for what is. And I just try to keep an open mind, you know, as to what could be and what is, you know, because every time I come up with like, this is the way it should be, life kind of just has like a field day with that. I'm like, this is the diet for me, field day. And so I really, you know, I really want to honor everyone also wherever they are in their development. And as a teacher, I think that's really our role too, is not to be like, well, if you're not doing this, no. I've learned a lot in my journey, and I think that we should honor each other in our journey and our path. So that's, you know, that's where I'm coming from with that. Okay, so with Malva, I would just leave it be, Pamela. I would just let it go. I would just, you know, put it down some mulch, I guess, but let it just go to seed. Yeah, and yeah, I would just let it go to seed. So I don't see a need to do anything special, because the thing you do it special, then you start pampering it, and then their seeds are not as good, right? So I would work on that. Yeah, and then B12, of course, is always a thing, right? When it comes to diet. So, yeah, and then cobalt, right? Cobalt, B12, so incredible. So that was fun, guys. That was exciting. I feel like we went on some tangents. It was fun, though. And yeah, just so you guys know, there's going to be more videos. I'm talking to some friends about helping me translate the Mexican documentaries. We're going to start with the Chinampas one. My wife hasn't been able to do much translating between resting like for more than half the day. She's asleep as she's recovering, and then doing homeschool and whatnot. So there hasn't been much time for her to work on that. So we're getting help with that with the Spanish, the Mexican Spanish specifically, because she grew up in Spain and Argentina, so they're different Spanish. So we're getting that going, but that will be available hopefully soonish. And so we're gonna have a lot more videos. I am 60% through editing Unstoppable Enthusiasm, so it will be available to support in a Kickstarter very soon, and it's going to be absolutely incredible. So this is what I've been like pouring all my time into, in my spare moments. And this is it. This book, Unstoppable Enthusiasm, is the best book I've ever written. It has things that I didn't realize I wanted to say, that I didn't realize I wanted to hear or needed to hear. I've uncovered keys that I'm going to use to unlock the rest of my life, for the rest of my life. It's really wild. So I'm really excited about this, because I feel like enthusiasm is the linchpin for everything. It's the energy that gets us out of bed. It's the energy that, puts a smile on our face. It's the energy that gives us, the fuel in the hardest times of our life to stay focused on those bigger goals, to get past that pain, to find that transcendent joy. So I'm really, really excited about it. And I hope that you all support me in that, and hope that you join me in this. And yeah, get some enthusiasm going in your life and make it unstoppable, because there are actual key indicators and key habits that can make it unstoppable. So I am super excited. I am so thankful for you all, with all the kind interaction. This is the kind of interaction that we need to really come onto that political stage that we're talking about, where we need these kind of discussions to happen, where people are respecting each other, where people are showing that the ethics are the things that belong as the forefront, as the guide. And once we start that happening in our communities, in politics, in entertainment, we're going in education too, all levels, we're going to see such a shift in our society. So I just want to thank you for being here, for being right here, ground zero, and this change. And yeah, I'm so thankful for you. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week as we talk about week 13 live Q&A.